Hello and welcome to chapter 151 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me, as always, is Joe. Joe, how are you doing on this holiday season?
Oh, I'm doing really good, Travis. It's been a okay weekend. I know we're doing this on a Tuesday instead of a Monday, but yeah, no, my girlfriend's daughter was not feeling the greatest
Oh,
for Christmas Day, so that kind of sucked. And then my daughter had to work both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, so it's been a relaxing weekend, which has been nice. But yeah, it's been fine. How about you? How was your Christmas and Boxing Day?
mine was okay too. It was fun. I was with Allison and her family for the holidays. I haven't spent Christmas with my family in the last 2 years, which 3 years really, because my brother didn't spend it with us 3 years, 2 years ago,
Mhm.
so or 3 years ago. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks because I have a huge family too, not just my immediate family. My mother has 14 brothers and sisters. So we'd
Oh
all
wow.
get together over Christmas. It would be a big time. And even though that tapered off a little bit last few years before, we still did a lot as a family. So it's been a little rough. Christmas night, after Allison and her family went to bed, I FaceTimed my family and I essentially got to watch my family eat Christmas dinner. And I'm just like, there's a 3.5 hour time difference. I said to him, like, what the hell am I doing this for? This is terrible. Like, I know all your faces. I FaceTime you guys like mostly daily. What am I doing this for? Go have your meal. I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Like,
That was me last year, last Thanksgiving, because I had gotten COVID, and
oh,
so for Thanksgiving, instead of doing turkey, my family does fusilli, long fusilli, and no, not fusilli. Wait, what do we do? No, homemade raviolis. We used to do homemade
okay.
raviolis and homemade meatballs. Um, and I was supposed to provide the meatballs, but I was sick, and so yeah, like I couldn't have Thanksgiving dinner because I couldn't go to Thanksgiving.
It's
It was
tough.
I get
It's
it,
tough
I get it.
to stop the traditions. It's tough when you not when you have no control of it. But they were fun. I got a couple cool gifts. I think Allison's brother thinks I do a Marvel podcast because he gave me a giant Marvel book last year for Christmas, and this year he gave me a 80 years. But Allison's mother really outdid herself. This is what she gave me. Adam
Ooh, I like
West
that.
Batman. So that was a couple fun things I just wanted to share there. If you're on the YouTube channel with us, or if you're watching YouTube later. But Joe, we have a pretty fun-filled episode to talk about. A new episode of Doom Patrol, but some DC news and a possible idea or thought that I have that I think could spur a little discussion. But before we do all that and get into all that, I have to do network plugs. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance with 8 shows in total. On Mondays is Ranger Alliance, and that rotates bi-weekly with Slice of Film. On Tuesdays is DC Alliance. On Wednesdays is the Animation Nation. On Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance. On Fridays is Marvel Alliance. On Saturdays, bi-weekly, as they walk through the multiverse. On Sundays, monthly is World's Finest True Believers. DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Marvel Alliance goes live Thursdays at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time, and Star Wars Alliance goes live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All three of those shows also have their own podcast feed. Search Marvel Alliance, DC Alliance, or Star Wars Alliance if you just want Marvel content, DC content, or Star Wars content. But if you want all 8 shows on GWA Podcast Network, stay subscribed to the GWA on your podcast app of choice. We also have a Patreon, 2 tiers, $1 tier and a $5 tier. Dollar tier is basically a tip jar. You like what we're doing and you want to help us out any way you can. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras. You get your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. Myself and Joe are going through the DC films through the years. So stick with us as we go through those. We have Supergirl on deck, so stay with us. That'll be coming out in January. We have Chris and Brent with the Marvel Alliance guys doing their MCU rewatch, so stick with them as they go through the MCU. We have Katie doing Star Wars comics with her husband, Matt. We have Clay watching shows for the first time. And we have Joe's Multiverse Minutes, which there is something in the works for the new year with myself and Joe. And I have
Mhm.
started to consume the content that we are going to be discussing. So
I'm doing that this week.
if you're a patron, you will know soon enough what we're talking about. And we thank everyone that's a patron. But if you can't be a patron, if you can take a quick 30 to 60 seconds to rate and review the podcast on your podcast app of choice, that's always greatly appreciated. It helps other people find the show, and that's always a good thing. Joe, I think I hit everything that time.
Sounds like it. And
Well,
in one
let's
breath.
Yeah, I know. I did mix up Marvel Alliance and Star Wars Alliance going live in the orders there, but I just
Hey, look,
ran with it
it's all good. Hey,
and
you know what?
I
You
fumbled the ball, but I just kept running. Got my hands back on that, and I just kept plowing through. But
It's called adapting, and you're good at it.
there we go. So I think we're gonna have a fun episode tonight. And first and foremost, we're gonna be discussing Blue Beetle. We had an official synopsis. Well, a first plot synopsis drop, and I'll read this now. Recent college graduate Jaime Reyes returns home full of aspirations for his future, only to find that his home is not quite as he left it. It begins as he searches to find his purpose in the world. Fate intervenes when Jaime unexpectedly finds himself in possession of an ancient relic of alien biotechnology, the Scarab. When the Scarab suddenly chooses Jaime to be its symbiotic host, he is bestowed with incredible suit of armor capable of extraordinary and unpredictable powers, forever changing his destiny as he becomes the superhero Blue Beetle.
Very nice. Sounds awesome. Like, I mean, the synopsis makes it sound great.
I'm like, I'm
And
in. Are you Alien Iron Man?
yeah,
Sold.
which I mean, yeah, essentially that is what he is. You've seen him in Young Justice. I've read him in the comics, and it is a very Iron Man esque concept, except it's obviously Blue Beetle. Um, but the character himself, having I think taking the character back to a younger stage, he's got to balance, his superhero life and his in comics high school life, obviously in the movie college life, but basically his home life and his superhero life. I know in the comics, his friends know that he's Blue Beetle, but and then obviously Ted Cord, but his family doesn't. So I'd be interested to see how they work it here, considering that they have said that in the movie the family is hashtag family is more important or is so important to the plot. So I'd be interested to see if they do a what essentially will be Shazam 2 and the family knows the parents know. I don't know. It
Well,
would
the
be cool to
parents
see.
don't know about the Shazam. The
No, not
Shazam adoptive parents, right?
at the adopted parents at the end of the first one. In the trailer of the second one, they full out no.
Do they? I thought they said like I thought it was a
They,
joke of like where you have been fighting crime and laugh. I thought it was
no,
just like
they
a
like he does the Shazam right in front of him.
do we?
He changes right in front of him. Yeah,
Oh, okay, I missed that part of the trailer. Where was I to for that?
yeah,
Uh, I they might do a reverse of that. I would enjoy it, like George Lopez knowing the secret and stuff like
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of comedy and comedic elements that come from that. That would be really exciting. I'm all in for this movie. I think it's going to be very interesting how they do this. I think Blue Beetle is more popular than some people might think with the Injustice games. You have there. He was also in the Teen Titan group for the new animated universe that DC did, the New 52 line.
yeah, that's right.
So, and he was like heavily featured in that film. Like he butted heads with Damien quite a bit, but eventually
Which
they
is not hard
kind
to
of
do, Damien.
no, Damien's a dick, but
He's
yeah, but I another person that I follow on Twitter, Carlos at Canadian Cape Crusader. He hosts the Nerd Room podcast with Tim. Uh, Replied to somebody on Twitter, and this is what just got me thinking. He was talking about what he thinks should happen to Blue Beetle, and I think it's rather interesting. I wanted to pose the question to
mhm.
you. As Blue Beetle is slated to release like August 18th, 2023 in theaters, do you think it should? Like, should they hold it back for like to push it to the new year to 2024 when the old DCEU movies are all done and over with and the new DCU begins and you could have that as part of your first phase of movies, we'll say.
Currently the last movie on the DCEU is Aquaman, correct?
Yes, in
Yeah,
December.
in December. Um, like if anything, you could I don't know if you move it to 2024 because we had talked about that. How if there's anything connected to this current universe, you could easily edit it out or even edit it to be in a new one. Um, so like if anything, swap those two. Have Aquaman come out in August and Blue Beetle come out in December. But yeah, I can see the merit of having of moving Blue Beetle to 2024 being the beginning of what would be essentially the new DCEU or DCU, and going from there. Do I want that to happen? No, because I really want to see this movie. But in all honesty, if this is a character that they could keep because it has such a low connection to every other film that's been out so far, then maybe yeah, sacrifice it by pushing it out a little bit farther to keep it into the DCU. Because from what we know of this movie so far, it looks wonderful. The synopsis you just read sounds great, and there's so much potential going forward that I'd hate for them to lose this character because they're rebooting everything. You know?
It's honestly, Joe, as much as I'm there with you about wanting to see this in August, the scheduled release date, I think it would be best. I don't know if they can pull Aquaman up with the VFX heavy that Aquaman is.
But I thought that was already done because it wasn't already mostly done, but by like this year. I don't know. My neighbor is only working on the Flash, so I don't know what's going on with Aquaman.
Tell
But
him
like,
to contact his channel to see who's working
no,
on
I'm too
Aquaman, what
good.
the holdup is. Not
Not
that
gonna.
great a friend? Not that great a friend? Okay, got it.
Oh no, he's a good friend. I'm not going to like jeopardize our friendship just to find things out to put on a podcast. Like, fine.
Oh man, that would not be smart to do. No, but seriously, I do think if you could switch him with Aquaman, that would be great. If not, I do think pushing this to 2024 is the way to go. Just because, to be honest with you, Joe, I feel like it would be a fresh start. Even if you haul Aquaman to I don't know what the schedule is in December. I assume is probably a lot of heavy hitters for movies. But if you could pull it to the start of December and then roll Blue Beetle sometime in the middle of January and just start moving from there, I think that would be great. Now, this is a lot of assumptions because I'm not sure. We'll talk about it in our next story here. I'm not sure if we're going to get a full on reboot that people were thinking. So I don't know if I should be worried that I don't think they'll lose Blue Beetle. Like if it's a big hit, they will try to they will find a way to bring it over. But
Yeah,
I don't want a sloppy transition from old DC EU to new unless
yeah.
you just straight up tell me that era of DC films is over and we are starting a new DC era of films starting with this film and then going out from there.
Which would mean yes, pushing it back after Aquaman. We know Aquaman is the last one.
Yeah.
They've stated that it's the last connecting character from the previous DC universe. Blue Beetle's a brand new property. Yeah, push it back, make it part of the new universe. I just I don't know. I just want to see it. Like it's I've seen stuff for it. I want to watch it. I want to watch all these movies.
In Blue Beetle's defense, it was not featured on a teaser trailer saying, "Here are the films coming out this year."
I did see a somebody on Instagram be like, "All right, yeah, the hierarchy of DC universe is gonna be changing. What movie or movies for 2022 is gonna be DC's year?" And all we got was the Batman and Black Adam. Huh? Okay,
Especially the Batman exists in its own universe. So
sure, but the fact that the Batman came out in like what February, March,
Yeah.
and then Black Adam came out in October, like that's a big difference. And then you have nothing the rest of the year, like,
Yeah,
huh?
and that wouldn't be the case here in this 2023 either, because we would have had Shazam, The Flash, and Aquaman. If you did move Blue Beetle,
Normally,
still
yeah.
having three theatrical films in a year
Three's
is
not
really
bad.
good. So I
3 was what Marvel did back in the day,
yeah, I
so they
just
started pumping out 4.
honestly, I do feel like that might be the smartest way to go with Blue Beetle. Just move it to 2024 and put it, even if you want to put it after a put do one DCU film and then put it after that. But I don't know how quick you're going to go from 2022 in production to getting the film out. So
Yeah, we
honestly, I
haven't heard
would.
anything yet. I think I mean, it'd be really interesting if they were to be like, "Oh, yeah, here's a film we were doing in secret. It's coming out in January of 2024." Mm.
Now, in saying that, the tagline on the poster for Blue Beetle is this is just the beginning. So, I mean, could
Uh,
this be the beginning of the DCU, Joe? Is this
it's
what would you think the possibility of this happening?
um
Hard to put in like
40, 60. I don't know. Like it's
hard
possible
hard to put a finger on what WBD will do, if I'm being honest with you. But
anymore.
if
Jesus.
James Gunn has control of this, maybe this might be a wise move. I would be excited to see that. I would be a little sad that we have to wait a little bit longer for another DC film. But if it means this character coming into DCU in a smooth transition, i.e., starting in a DCU, I'd be okay with waiting 6 months to see the film.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we're still getting 3 movies in 2023, so
Yeah, regardless,
okay, we
and
gotta
some
wait just
shows.
a little bit longer. Yeah,
Well,
and a ton of shows.
parts of shows.
Well,
And Superman Lois. So yeah,
so
shows. You're right.
shows.
Shows.
All right.
Yes. But let's go into
Was are we
our.
getting Gotham Knights next year?
We don't talk about that. We'll talk about this because it ties into this other story a little bit, and then we'll go into the rest of the DC news roundup. But Zachary Levi addressed recent rumors of what's going to happen to him going forward. Do you think he survives and moves to the DCU? Because from what he was saying, it sounds like he's going to come over to the DCU. He has a good relationship. Peter Safran produces his movies. Shazam was profitable because it was made on a pretty reasonable budget, and it only had 3 weeks of time to make bank because it was between the billion that Captain Marvel made, and then it came up, and then 3 weeks later, in Endgame or Infinity War came out.
Endgame. Yeah.
Endgame. So its
I
legs
mean,
was completely like it was murdered, straight like RoboCop style murdered by
and yet it
those two
still
films.
did good. You wanna
Yes,
know why? Because people actually believed in the film,
yes,
unlike Black Adam.
it was a strong story, and no, not only that, JoJo. If Black Adam was made for a 90 to 100 million, it would be different. But when
Sure.
you have outrageous casts, including I can't imagine the number on Dwayne Johnson's.
Well, okay. Well, and that's the other thing. Like, unless you had it in contract when he signed in what 2007 that
Yeah.
this is what you're making every year until this movie gets made. Like, he is going to be astronomically expensive.
Even
So,
I don't know if you get paid when it was like when you're still in development, but even so,
well, if you
like
sign a
if it,
contract, if you agree,
yeah,
like you're gonna get paid.
yeah.
Like you're getting something. It may not be the full amount, but you're getting a percentage of something.
With how long this took, he like that contract may have ran its course, and then he might have
To re-up the contract, yeah,
re up the contract when
possibly.
he was even bigger of a star. So let's not like he could have got points. So there's a lot of things there that Zachary Levi did not have, but I did listen to this, Joe, and honestly, part of me felt like he is going to come across to the DC universe.
You think
But
so?
he did say that I don't want people to hate on him uh, because it was a really sensible take, and obviously you're going to get your crazy hate on him. But he said, whenever they tell me I'm done playing this character and someone else takes over, all I hope is that people think I did a good enough job, and hopefully they will follow me to my next role and want to see what I do next. And I was
I
like,
mean, I've been following Zachary Levi for a while, so like, I was just excited when they announced that he was going to become Shazam.
I was like, what a fantastic attitude, first of
Yeah,
all. But also, I loved first Shazam. I thought it was a fantastic film. Really
100%.
enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to the second one. I can't wait for us to discuss it. However, it's going to be a hard sell if the only person you recast is Henry Cavill. Well, obviously Ben Affleck, but the only person you recast is Henry Cavill out of the people that still wanted to be the characters.
Again,
Because
you, you
I'm like, why don't you just full on reboot and let's just
yeah,
go with a new thing? That's the only thing. It's not about
you
like,
have to
I want Henry or Bus. I just
like no, like don't get me wrong. Yes, we want Henry Cavill to stay here, but he can't
yeah,
obviously. And I'm not saying I want to lose Zachary Levi or Gal Gadot or Jason Momoa, but you need to reboot it. If you're
yeah.
rebooting it, you're getting rid of everybody.
You can't just
There
reboot
is
Superman
no favoritism.
and use the Flash as an excuse to cover that up and
Yeah,
then going on from that because I ultimately I don't understand it. Like cast, if you really cast your friends and close ones as other characters in DCU going forward, like they can be, they're not that pivotal of roles that you're like, oh my god, I can't see them in something else.
Correct. Yeah. No, like I mean, there's already been talk of Momoa being Lobo. Like,
I could see Zach
okay,
Levi being Guy
fine.
Gardner, for example, just an example.
Oh, that'd be a
He could turn
I
on
could
the
see
hate
it.
you
He could
terms
pull it
too,
off
right?
so
Yes.
good. Okay.
So
But
yeah,
yeah, like exactly. Like just because they're done as this character doesn't mean they're done in the universe. They can do other characters. It will it might confuse some people,
yeah.
but like that's a confusion that they can get over real quick.
Yes, definitely, especially with different color hair and Green Lantern suit. It's just one example, but there are so many others that you could. That's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying like I don't want James Gunn to have his. I love when directors have their friends and like people they collaborate with, and they make good work, and they keep
Yeah.
bringing them on to other projects. That's a sign of so first off, someone that runs a good set where people want to work for them over and over and over again. But
Look
also
at the
that usually seems to be successful films as
I'll
well.
say look at the Guardians crew. Like
Yeah.
they are James Gunn or bust, and James Gunn's done. So they're all like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, peace
Thank
out.
you.
We're not going. And then he came. So yeah, it's just ultimately I would love to see him continue, but like you said, if they're rebooting Cavill, just reboot the whole thing. Like
Yep. I
reboot
mean,
the
they
whole
have to.
thing.
Like at this point,
Have Flash end up on a different Earth entirely at the end of his film, and just go from there.
with a whole new
If
Flash.
a whole new Flash, whole new Earth, whole new possibilities.
Yeah.
Do that if that's completely possible, and you can also just have him forget his like you forget it. That's one of the things. One of the last DCU films, I think it was the last one, or I think it was the last one, might have been the second last one. The Flash does mention that he's having memories that John Constantine's working with him. I think John Constantine
Was that?
about seeing
I thought it was.
about seeing the other when he done Flashpoint Paradox.
I thought Constantine was having the memories.
No, but before that, Flash talks to somebody about it. I think it could either be in the Constantine film, the little thing we got to bridge the
Yeah,
gap, or
that
it
might have
could
been the
have,
JSA one. The
yeah.
JSA movie.
I think it could have been the Constantine. It was one of those
Okay.
anyway. The Flash is like remembering little blips of that Flashpoint Paradox life, and that's you could even do that here, and you could have him forget, and then close to a crisis event, he could start remembering little things about the other Earth, and then you could bring them in to tie it for a little crossover. If you want to
Yeah.
do something like that, just options. But I if you're going to keep going and just I would accept that obviously and keep moving on, but you're going to have a real good reason why you only recast Superman, especially when you're such a good writer like James Gunn. You tell me you couldn't make that work? You couldn't rewrite the script to make
I
it work and go at it from a different angle?
I guarantee that yes, everything is going to get rebooted, and they will bring these people back in a Crisis movie in the future. Hell, look at Brandon Roth in the Crisis on CW. Like he was the Atom and he was Superman. No one was confused.
That was
We all
probably the
knew it. We all
only
were
good
cool with it.
part that was one of only 2 good parts of that, and even the
Yes,
second part of
but
that with Tom Welling was kind of because you know that they kind of shafted Michael Rosenbaum and sent him a little script, like, a week before, now they said, "Are you in or not?" Like, didn't even really tell him what he was
yeah,
doing.
well, again, with yes, but they had so many people they're trying to get a hold of, and yeah,
Screwed the
well,
pooch
yes,
on that one, Joe.
they definitely did.
As an Arrowverse fan, the whole crowd there were some good moments, but the whole thing that's why I'm more happy about James Gunn if he ever got a chance to do it. I feel like he wouldn't like there wouldn't be just little moments for the sake of having moments. There would be more meaning to them. That's
Sure,
all.
but you
Just
also have to balance it, with having these homages to these characters that or actors that previously played these characters and the story for the movie. Like you don't want it. Would I love for it to be a 3 hour movie? Sure, but I'm getting to the point where I can't really. A 3 hour movie isn't as fun in the theaters anymore as it used to be.
you're talking about the No Way Home effect, really, where you want you where
That
you
and yeah,
tell where you
okay,
honor those characters, but still
sure,
service the story.
but that's two. Well, I mean, if you don't count the
I catch the
Sinister
villains
Six.
because I thought they were
Okay,
all
so that's
pretty.
they were wonderful, yes. But okay, so that's what, 8 people, 7 people.
Hold up. We will get right back into this discussion after we take our ad break. Listeners,
What?
for an
You
ad
gotta
supported
break
network.
my
We don't pick the ads or the volume or when the ads happen. Give you a quick 3 seconds to adjust your clock, and
Okay.
we'll be right back. In 3, 2, 1.
A few moments later.
And we're back. Sorry, Joe, for cutting
Gotcha.
you off, but we need to
Sounds
get
like-
that ad break in there. I could hear Snell in the back of my head saying, "Ad's got to go in." So
I go 40 minutes sometimes. Hell, freaking Marvel Alliance gone 40 minutes when they did the Spider-Man across the multiverse, across the
trailer.
yeah, that trailer. They went 45 minutes. Come on.
Sorry, my bad. My bad.
Anyway, yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
But ultimately, I think we both would be okay with it either way. If Shazam
Yes,
is still in
100%.
the film, or if Zachary Levi's recast. I don't think we will get a Shazam appearance for a little while if he is recast. I feel like it
And
would
if
be
and
a minute.
again, 100% agree. And worst case, if they don't recast it, bring him back during Crisis.
Yes, or even Joe, if you do recast it, now that you have had 2 Shazam films, he could just show up in the Justice League sixth film in Justice League as
Right.
part of the group, and you don't have to show his backstory because guess what? A lot of people will know now that is Shazam and what Shazam's backstory is and what he's a kid that says Shazam and he turns into Shazam. So yeah, you know it's easy to do this in a sense. You just got to get the stories right. That is
Yeah.
the huge thing here.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's go on to we have pardon my French, but a shit ton of news here to get into here today. First and foremost, so Joe probably wouldn't have as much
This is
of
such a great thing
knowledge
once I
for this,
watch the show.
but yeah, we have our first official look at Michael Bishop's Jonathan Kent. He's been he has played the recasted role now. Jordan Elas was the character before, but played the character before, but he went through some issues. He's getting some help, so that's most important thing. He couldn't make the call for this. Obviously, there isn't much wiggle room. Where I think this is the final season of this show. I'm excited to see what he's going to do, how different he'll be from Jordan, and because the two brothers had a really great relationship, and we have Bruno Mannheim coming into the season. So I'm really excited
Ooh, really?
to see how this goes with Intergang and this being the final season. You never know; we could get a
Allegedly, final season.
Arrowverse version of Darkseid by the end of this season.
I don't know. Maybe.
But yeah,
Anything is possible.
I wish this actor good luck playing the character. I hope he does quite well.
And I will say, because we're going to be covering it on the show, I am going to get caught up on seasons 1 and 2 of Superman Lois. And in the future episodes, I'll be giving my thoughts on the little bits I watch every Monday when we cover the show.
We'll call it Joe's Corner,
Yay!
where he talks about Superman
Sounds good.
and Lois. Sorry, can't forget Lois. She's in the title. Okay. This next one, obviously, is DC Comics is doing it, but I'm going to give a shout out to our friend and host of co-host of Marvel Alliance, Chris Balga, because that's how I saw this come across my Twitter feed, and that is I'm going to share my screen for this, Joe, because I think it's quite nice, and I'll read it out as I do that. Settings. There we go. I don't share my screen that often. So
Yeah, I don't know how,
okay,
so.
in the DC comics, this titles this week. There's a nice tribute for Kevin Conroy. It says Kevin Conroy, 1955 to 2022. There's Batman holding the cowl, and you got a couple nice things from Paul Dini and Alan Burnett. Paul Dini says, as Batman, Kevin Conroy's voice spoke from the heart, from a heart no stranger to pain. Through his empathy, Kevin's Dark Knight gave hope to anyone in need of a hero. He leaves behind a silent Gotham, but one infinitely blessed by his presence. And Alan Burnett said his was a voice of uncommon power and warmth, and he made Batman a joy not only for those of us lucky enough to work with him, but for the thousands of fans he met with and thrilled every year. It's an empty cave without you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really nice thing that they're doing there and putting on DC Comics. Thought it was nice of us to talk about that. That's just a nice thing, and it's still sad to talk about. If I'm being honest with you, I saw a Twitter account that basically Justice League reunion, and I'm like,
Yeah,
how can you even start that show back up now? I don't even
you
see it
can't.
being possible. It's just not possible. So yeah, it's a little sad, but it's a nice thing that DC Comics did this week.
Yeah.
And shout out to Chris for putting it across my
Yeah,
timeline.
he shared it in the comic chat with myself, him, and Clay, and it was nice to see.
So going from a nice sentiment and something nice to see to something not so nice to see, uh, especially when you consider the growth of the streaming channel, you would expect it to be differently. But Black Adam had the worst first DC film for weekend on HBO Max. It did
Yeah.
1.2 million. This is from Samba TV too, so this is only what people with Cinema TVs. Zack Snyder's Justice League did 2.2, Wonder Woman 84 did 3.2, Suicide Squad did 3.5, and Batman did 4.2. The Batman is clearly the most impressive to me, as it already had a 45-day theatrical window when it went in there. So that's quite impressive to get those numbers on the first weekend. Uh,
Yeah,
I this just backs up more of what people have been saying, including Clay, about yeah, The Rock struck out with this one.
he tried to Babe Ruth it. He tried to swing for the fences, and he whiffed it. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't discredit him for trying. You have to try. The problem is this movie was just he tried to be like, oh, this is I'm doing this by myself. Shazam or Black Adam is the best character ever, and he's gonna fight Superman. No, your nemesis is Shazam. Fight Shazam first, and
Yes.
then work up to Superman. But no, you're sitting there playing like, I don't know who Shazam is. This guy, who cares? Like, The Rock's attempt to try and make this character bigger than he actually is what hurt the movie
Yeah.
in the long run.
Ultimately, that's 100% right, Joe. This now, I'm not going to fault The Rock for positioning himself to
No,
take a swing at basically running DC
no,
at
he
DC Studios. He set
the
that
the
up with
time
$7 Entertainment.
the time was perfect for him to try,
Yeah.
and he did. The
Yes.
problem
There you go.
was this movie should have been out like 5 years ago.
Or you shouldn't have picked the same person that did Jungle Cruise to do the movie.
I like Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, but that's not what Black Adam is.
No, it's
Like,
not.
you
No,
needed
God,
a director and writer to really, you really needed to craft a better story too, because I feel like there's some performances, i.e., Pierce Brosnan, Doctor Fate, that are wasted in this
but
film.
not only
That
that, but remember we were talking when we covered it with Hawkman saying you're killing people. That's bad. Now stop what you're doing. We're gonna kill you. Like,
this is
that's just
grade
bad
one
writing.
writing. Yeah, that's like grade one writing that you would see something like that in Riverdale or something, like some contradictory thing
Mm,
like that.
yeah,
From what I've seen on
not
the
wrong.
little clips that have been shared, I don't see that show. But like I said, he took a swing. He tried to control DC Universe. It did not work. But I was shocked to see how little this, because it should do better theoretically than Zack Snyder's Justice League, because that's a director's cut of a film that was released 4 years after that film was released. It's impressive that it did the numbers that it did, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And then the streaming service is bigger now than it was when all these other films were released,
one
and
hundred
did
percent.
worse than all. So it's I know
Well,
Wonder Woman 84 and the Suicide Squad have to be taken with a grain of salt, because those were simultaneous releases. So if you couldn't watch it in theater, you could go to HBO Max. Like, that
yes,
was the thing. There was no the other ones, there was no option. Like the Batman was,
theaters only
yeah,
until for
and
45 days.
yes, and Zack
This
Snyder's
one,
Justice was only theaters.
yeah.
Only HBO Max, sorry.
The other thing that hurt it was, oh man, I just had it in my head and I forgot it. Um, nope, it's gone.
It
Gone.
happens, Joe. It happens. But like I said, he took a swing. I'm shocked that I figured it would at least beat Zack Snyder's Justice League alone, because of, like, that came out literally a year ago. Uh, and still, it so yeah, I was a little surprised with that. Wonder Woman 84, the Suicide Squad, Batman, like I said, is most impressive, but that's not great for The Rock.
Oh, now I remember what it was. The other thing about this movie was they were pushing hard the Superman's back, which is awesome, except for the fact that the clip of him coming back is all of 5 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe. And then you saw it online like a week later. So now, yeah, nobody has to watch this movie on HBO Max because the part people want to see was already on YouTube. And then a week after that didn't matter because it got shunted out the door because Henry Cavill's not coming back. So like I said, Dwayne The Rock Johnson tried. He was positioning things in his favor, and he was getting the pieces all in place. And then the heads just like, no, we're going this way with these two.
Frustrating at times, Joe, when you think about it. But like I said, it just shows that the film was not the hit that we hoped it would be, or the Rock portrayed it to be. It may have even been over. The Rock may have pulled too much of his marketing move because at a certain point, like I said, the hierarchy of power phrase was like gibberish to me.
But no, like this wasn't. It was. We watched it. Obviously, we reviewed it. It's a good movie. There's good parts.
Yes,
but it's nothing game changing.
No, it's down there on my DCEU rankings. Like it's not like I'd watch it again.
For us,
I think it was a little bit lower than that. Maybe I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
Yeah, I'd have to relook at it. It's so far away.
But one thing I didn't have on here that did happen this past week too was Green Lantern Corps show was rumored to be axed, and then James Gunn came out and said, "Nope, that's not true at all. That's fake." And then one of the scooper sites had to delete their post. It was hilarious.
Oh no!
This honestly makes sense to me because he did say across film, television, animation, and gaming. So I can totally see this being a show as well that keeps going, like something maybe they sell to Amazon or
since apparently HBO Max doesn't want anything right now.
Yeah, but
we'll get to that later.
I do enjoy James Gunn putting the kibosh on these scoopers, but you always have people waiting for that. So I'm afraid if he misses one or it goes through the cracks, people might think that it's accurate.
Which, I mean, there's going to come a time where he can't be on there as constantly as people want him to be.
True.
We're going to have to get used to that here, probably within, I'm going to say, the second half of 2023 at the earliest.
I think you could be right about that.
Maybe even last quarter, but yeah, it's it's going to get to the point where he's have to actually start working, So he can't be on Twitter like putting these scoopers in their place.
We have some not so fun news for people who have DC podcasts that cover Titans, because they won't be back for season 4 in January,
which is very surprising because
we're
actually liking the show.
Yeah, and HBO Max revealed its listings for the month, and Titans season 4 part 2 is not listed there.
Now, you sent this to me, or you sent this in the notes, and I looked at it, and this was the one that out of everything in our notes, this is the one I didn't know about. And I was very surprised. I made the suggestion that maybe because Last of Us is going to be on HBO Max, they didn't want the two butting heads, but they're two very different audiences with a few people crossing over.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know why this is not coming out at the same time. Like,
strange. You think you keep flowing. When does Last of Us start? Is it when Doom Patrol ends?
January 3rd? No, 15th. No.
Okay, Doom Patrol stops, has his last episode January 5th. So the following week, January
I think it's
12th.
January 15th. Last of
Well, they probably move it to Sunday. Yeah.
January 15th is when it starts.
How many episodes is that?
I could have sworn they showed it 8, 7,
okay.
7.
Yeah, so
ends
this could come
at the end of
February
February
or March. It could come in February or March. I don't know. What Joe was thinking, probably March. with that.
March would be if it's
Maybe.
after Last of Us. March would make
I think it'd
sense.
be maybe a bit too long of a wait, in my opinion, especially if you have Doom Patrol, unless you're going to go with both at the same time, where you have a
Which they
crossover
did
coming up.
before, so
That could be you should probably separate the dates, but I'm just interested to see how they go with that. It sucks because we were going to enjoy it. The Doom Patrol ends off their season January 5th, but I guess we'll wait a little bit longer for that. Hopefully, we don't have a big mess of shows at one time. Yeah,
well, yeah, because
that never happens with DC.
ugh.
Okay, Joe. We also have Harley Quinn's release date somewhat announced by Culture Crave, which was in 2023, which I thought we already knew.
Yay, 2023.
Yeah. And the final thing, HBO Max, so smart, but we knew this was happening with Amazon, removing some of their animated shows. Four of them: Justice League Unlimited, Batman Brave and the Bold, and Aquaman from 1967 to 69 have all
Like that one, like, okay, whatever.
I was like, okay, way to throw that one in there with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But like obviously Justice League Unlimited, both great shows. Batman Brave and the Bold, such a wonderful show.
I
Like,
would
the
love
fact
for the
that-
DC animated content to get licensed out somewhere else, but they don't have a clue. Look at some of the stuff they're leaving there. They're all the John Wick 1, 2, and 3.
No, that's
Uh,
coming off at the end of the month.
yeah, that's all leaving.
Yeah, well, they
Uh,
only had a contract for a month,
and then
which is weird.
Jurassic Park movies are all gone.
Well, Jurassic Park's probably gonna go over the Peacock
It's just like
because
you're
NBC
losing
has
content.
those. But yeah, no,
It's-
there's a long list of movies or things they're getting rid of, and it some of it doesn't make sense. Like, but this is also licensing. They have licensing somewhere. You would think that the Warner Brothers production licensing would just be part of HBO Max, but apparently not.
They need that instant cash flow minus like very little expenses.
Like
That's what they're going with because of the state of the like ship right now. They are not making money. Like it is the thing. Like they have to turn it around to where they're profitable to increase their share. That's all that these people at WBD are concerned about. And sorry to all us DC fans, is their earnings per share. How
yeah, I mean,
much
you're not
they
wrong.
need to increase that. That's the sole goal of what they're trying to do. And they're hoping that this happens partly with DC Studios. They're trying to do some other things as well. But this is one of those plans where they need the instant cash flow with the Amazon deal because that's why they look so fondly on a DCCW was the lucrative Netflix deal that ultimately AT&T decided to go the way that you're thinking of, Joe, which is why don't we just make all our stuff in-house? And, it's going to cost more first, but when we get everybody to our content, HBO has the best content, so they'll come
And they
to
did
us.
for a minute. And
Yeah.
then obviously things started faltering and they're like, nope, we can't sustain this forever anymore. So we gotta go do something else. Like it sucks because HBO was a nice hub for all of these properties that we love and enjoy and will watch. And now it's just like, well, now I gotta go search for it on one of my other multiple streaming services I had. And it
Yeah.
also remembers back to like Netflix. I always heard Netflix was always losing money, like they were always in the red, but then they were just buying up properties left and right to put out a movie or a show that maybe made something. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know.
And yet there still are. I mean, they still talk about how Netflix is losing money, so they're going to be going back to the weekly model, for some shows, and they're going to
And
test
they're
it
not,
out.
and they're putting the lockdown on password sharing. So I don't know
Yeah,
how.
like I don't know. And I've talked
It's-
about this a lot on Walk to the Multiverse. The like Netflix dropping everything at once was great for when they had syndicated shows, when the shows were airing and then they were done, and then they dropped it on the streaming service like 2 weeks after the season finale aired. That was wonderful because I could catch up on the CW shows, and it was great. But now with their original content, dropping it all at once doesn't work out as well.
It's tough. I can remember shout out to Fans Without Borders trying to consume all the Marvel Netflix show that dropped before Sunday hit, so that
Well,
I could listen Monday when the new fans came out.
at least
talking
that
about
was
the
only
show.
like 7 to 10 episodes or 13
Well, 13 episodes.
in a couple cases.
So
But that wasn't 22 episodes with the CW shows. So
That's true. So that's even more tough. But I don't know how that will go. I just want to see DC content be readily available to me. Most of it is, so it's just I don't have access
yeah,
to HBO Max, so it's just like me here with my little like.
yes, it really doesn't.
Bring the
Yeah, exactly.
violin for you guys.
Well, but I mean, if it goes to a different streaming service, I've got practically all of them. Between myself and my girlfriend, I pay for half it. She pays for half of them. So we have, I think, all but like one or two. So I'm not hurting too bad, except for when it goes on something that I don't have.
Yeah. You're like, oh,
It's
do
like,
I
oh
get
shit.
this? That's why there was no chance of me ever watching Pennyworth at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
still
Joe,
gonna watch it.
let's take our final ad break of the evening before we talk about Doom Patrol to wrap up tonight. Listeners, we're an ad support network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, sorry.
A few moments later.
Your face is just like,
And we're back.
leave all that in.
I may, or I may cut. We'll see. I probably won't. We have a final episode. Not DC, but should it? Yeah, it's crazy what the.
Yeah.
I've never seen the Avatar films, but I may have to dabble in the first one and go out and watch the second one because it is doing
Nope.
crazy
I'm
numbers.
good.
Crazy numbers. I said May, Joe. I said I was being nice. Yeah, so we have our episode of Doom Patrol here, completely off of the main storyline, or so you would think for most of the episode. This episode was called Casey Patrol. Joe, what do you think about this episode?
This
Right
was
off the top?
fun. Because the character, Casey Brink or Space Case, she's a actual relatively new character to Doom Patrol. And so remember when I told you, I don't know if I told you on here or if I told you in text, that I hadn't read a ton of Doom Patrol comics. When Gerard Way started his run in the Young Animals imprint back in 2016, I started reading those. I read like the first 2 arcs, and those arcs introduced this character of Space Case, and so like she shows up in the show, and I'm like, hey, I know that character. I had to look up exactly, and yeah, like her introduction in the comics is what I read. So it was fun to see her in live action. It actually one thing as I'm watching the episode, one thing this show has done is they've taken these. I mean, you think Doom Patrol, you think of kind of the core 4 or 5 characters. Niles, Robot Man, Last Woman, Crazy Jane, and Negative Man. But then you have some of these obscure ones. You've got Flex, you've got Space Case, you've got Madame Rouge showing up. Cyborg's obviously in this, but we know Cyborg from everywhere else. Dorothy, like they're taking these obscure characters and bringing them to life, and I love it. And this episode is no exception. Yes, it's a Dorothy heavy episode, which was wonderful. I love the character of Dorothy. I love the character. I love the actress is playing her. She does an amazing job. And seeing her interact with Danny and everybody else on in Danny's other realm was fun and interesting. And this whole episode was a blast. Like I had a really good time with it.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe. I was a little hesitant about this first going into it, knowing that it was going to be a complete offshoot with just Dorothy. But I really liked this episode. I thought that essentially the whole thing about yes, it would be nice to escape the shittiness that is the real world right now, but there are some good people
Yep.
still in this world trying to make things right. I thought that was a great little message, and the way they did that with the whole graffiti and then the kid trying to do something different at the end and really getting to the character there, that was great. I thought that was a great character as well, that going through the whole supporting Dorothy the whole time,
Oh,
her and
Mara.
Danny,
Yeah.
and the whole a whole thing I thought was all Dorothy's doing first. I thought it was all things that came out of her mind until we got what the main character, main villain, I'm forgetting his name now,
Tormanex, I believe.
Tormanex or something, what he was after.
Testosterone.
When
Yeah.
it was shown that he was after the necklace, that immortality necklace, uh, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
now I know why we're deviating away here. Good job, Travis. Pat myself on the shoulder. Good job. Good job. Like listeners, I did do that in the show notes as well. I put into our Doom Patrol season 4 episode discussion. Totally kind of called this where it was going. That's
I mean,
essentially what I wrote
yes,
there.
it's 100%.
It makes
You're
sense why you would do the
right.
offshoot of the episode now. It totally works. It's not even a like contained episode. I'm trying to think what that's called. You have one of those
Oh,
every
it's
season.
a filler episode.
Yeah, filler. It's not even filler because it does tie into the total story. It totally works.
Yeah. Plus, now at the very end of it, you've got Casey and Dorothy leaving Danny to go back to Cloverton to go back to the Doom Patrol.
Yes.
And so we're gonna see them probably not next episode, which that'd be what?
Could be at the end of the next episode because you get
Is
Doom
this episode
Patrol.
4?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be probably the end of the episode 5, if not beginning of episode 6, the mid-season finale.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. Trying to think now. I don't know still. Like, I'd love to see Immortus show me a backstory or something because I don't know still what's going on that way.
I think what we'll get
Is he in
So the next-
cryogenic stasis and they're trying to get this stuff to
probably something similar to that. It's gonna be because the next episode, the preview for the next episode is them not going back in time, but like rewinding time for themselves. It looks like
Yeah.
not entirely sure. So I can see the final episode, episode 6, whatever character, whoever that is, that got the necklace from Rita and the necklace from Dorothy, doing whatever he has to do that entire episode to get Immortus back. So we'll probably see him at the very end of the episode of the mid-season finale, and then probably when it comes back, which who knows when it's going to be back, sometime next year, will be the backstory of Immortus.
That's true. They'll probably bring him out
They're going to show him
in the
be like,
mid-season.
oh, he's a big threat, and then we're going to see why he's a big threat. But that's going to be later.
Yeah, they'll probably show him in the mid-season, although with Brother Blood, us not getting to actually see Brother Blood, I don't know now. Maybe they won't do that. Maybe we won't see Immortus until the second part. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. We have two people that have lost their immortality right now in Dorothy and Jane.
Rita.
Not Jane, Rita. Sorry,
But
Larry's.
I was saying it doesn't mean that we won't get the other ones. Something might happen.
I feel like we will. I feel like something is going to happen to some of them to prevent them, lose their immortality. That is the key to bringing that guy back. I'm really interested to see how they did, like how Rita's going to deal with losing her immortality.
I think we're going to see that next episode, which is why
can't be well. So I'm excited to see how they're going to solve that problem if they even do that. And I want to mention too that it was really nice seeing Dorothy stand up and say the things that she wanted to say to her father.
Yeah.
I ultimately thought that he was going to relent and not take the necklace after that, but no, this is Doom Patrol. What am I thinking? This is not a sappy network TV. That's not how this rolls. And maybe that'll be the last time we ever see Candlemaker.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah,
how
that was pretty...
she is kind of mad at Candlemaker and just kind of not using him. And
no, she locked up everyone and didn't use him ever since her last time. So that was she told this big story at the start of the episode about her and Candlemaker going and getting the necklace and getting the Lost Boys to set everything up. And no, that wasn't true at all. And she, the Lost Boys had to get it for her. And that was a nice little thing that I'm sure was written in before when we were going to get a show with them. I don't
with
know if we
the
still
Ghost
will or
Boys.
not,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think
last
that was
I
a nice
heard,
little,
no, but
yeah,
then again, last I also heard it was gonna be a different people. So
yeah.
maybe who knows? I haven't heard anything in a while.
Still, it was a fun episode. I'm really interested to see where they're going to go. I like the self-contained episode, and did like that. Uh, some people were using Danny as a crutch, and ultimately
Yeah.
by the end of the episode, that was addressed. I mean, like, no, some of us
Well,
can go out, but I love the girl that was like, "What if we're not ready?" And Danny was like, "You can take all the
then yeah,
time
you
you
just wait.
need."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It wasn't that they were using it as a crutch. People find their way to Danny, or Danny finds the people that needs him.
yeah,
But it just seemed that he was bringing more and more in, and everybody just stayed instead
yeah,
of when he was. I mean, when he was a street, they had a whole town. Like they could live in houses and be fine. But
yeah.
now they're in like this I don't know circus grounds or park somewhere, and it just seems like there's just way too many people
Well,
in there.
is in a
Fairgrounds. That's the
Parking
word I was
lot.
looking
It's in
for.
a parking lot.
Is that a parking
The
lot?
is in the TV is in the van. They go
It's in
through the
the
van in the parking lot, but
ambulance. Yeah.
the kids are there, the kids are there graffitiing up the wall, and they go back out into the real world.
No, that
Uh,
is the real world.
yeah, and then they leave that. The 3, ladies leave that.
Sure, and they go into the ambulance, and
Yeah,
then they come out into what is a fairgrounds, I
yeah.
believe, versus before where it was just a door in the building
It was
that
a
went
parking lot,
to a street.
yeah.
So
So,
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. This season has been great so far.
yeah.
I'm enjoying it more than Titans, which
Oh, yeah.
could be problematic because now they could like drop the ball toward the end of the season, even at the midseason, and that would suck.
But I am glad it's thumbs up for both
Oh
shows
yeah,
through almost
this
through the
this season has
midpoint.
been great for both of
I
them.
don't think Doom Patrol is going to drop the ball in the next 2 episodes before they go on break. So, uh,
Hope not.
yeah, I'm really excited to look forward to how they're going to end off both these shows, but I really do think this is the final. With all the cutting, casting they're doing there, I
Yeah,
don't see these shows surviving. So I'm really interested to see how they're wrapping
again,
them up.
4 seasons is like wonderful. Yeah,
Really
they're
good, really
shorter,
good.
but
Yes.
yeah,
Still, like you said, it's really good. And if Jeff Johns was part of this, he kind of wrote Stargirl with a finality. So maybe they did the same thing here, where they wrote an ending where they're not going to be picked up, and an ending that they do. Fingers crossed about
maybe.
that. And still trying to figure out how the Doom Patrol are going to factor into the whole crossover. Don't know how that's going to work. Really can't wait to find out, though.
We'll find out in Titans whenever that happens.
Whenever we get to see Titans.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Joe. That's pretty much wraps up everything for us this evening. Listeners, we won't be having, like I said before, the Smallville retro recaps until they come back with Talkville.
Which
But
will be in like a week or two. So
if you want an episode, a holiday themed, fun Smallville episode to watch in the meantime, my advice is to watch, I think it's season 5, episode 13, maybe Lexmas. It might be season 6. Uh, it's a really good episode where Lex essentially the whole what would have happened if Clark's parents had Lex and John and Lex's father had Clark. It's the what episode of that? It's the 9th episode of the 5th season. So close, 13. That's
at
not
least
too
it was
bad.
5th season.
Yeah.
I
So
had no
check
idea
that
what the
out.
hell you were talking about.
That's a fun little thing. And obviously the other one I'll say is the Justice League animated series does a great little Christmas episode.
Yeah,
You got
watch
Green
it on
Lantern.
HBO Max while you can. You got
Yeah,
a
you only
couple
have
days.
you got a couple days to do that, so you may as well enjoy it while you can. But those are my fun little Christmas things. I just wanted to throw out a couple recommendations there as we end off the year here.
Perfect.
So, Joe, that's it for this evening. Listeners, we'll be back in the new year with
Woohoo.
some more DC Alliance. We thank you for sticking with us this year
Yep.
and see you guys next year.
Bye, everyone.